I got one of my sister mates here with me, the one and only, the Honorable Yulin Cruz. Mayor, how you doing today? Carmen Yulin Cruz.
It's so good to see you. It's so good to be with you on TYT and this new, you know, for all those of you that are just finding out who Senator Nina Turner is, she's a spontaneous woman that's unbossed, unbought, and unafraid. So
Well, just like you.
Those are three things. Well, that's why we get along so well, and that's why we catch a lot of poo-poo from people that do not like to be told the truth, and that happens everywhere. It happens in all of the ranks and places where you and I have been known to be involved with.
Yeah, well, they can't handle it. There was a scene in a movie, I think it was A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. They can't handle
the truth.
No, they can't. We bring too much fire. Caliente?
Caliente, fuego. And in Spanish, you say candela. Candela, which is almost as you look at the fire just rising up. That's la candela. So when you give somebody candela, it means you're being bringing a little bit of mischief to it.
Oh, I love it. That's my favorite thing, making good trouble.
That's right. That's right.
And that's what we think
that you and I don't do is we don't go despacito. We don't take it easy. We just go full frontal to what needs to be addressed.
Yeah, we do, Mayor. And we have adored one another from afar for a very long time and had the opportunity to really come together full blast on the Sanders campaign, traveling all over this country. You were one of the 4 co-chairs of the 2020 presidential campaign. It was you, it was our dear 2 brothers, Ben Cohen, the one and only, the other half of Ben and Jerry's ice cream founder of one of the founders of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and Congressman Ro Khanna and myself. And I must say, and I told Ben was on a couple of weeks ago, and I just said it to him. I said, we were the best co-chairs in the galaxy. Let's just go ahead and claim the whole thing.
The Fantastic Four. And I think, again, first of all, we didn't have our own agenda. And that was something, of course, that Bernie is always about, is the people's agenda. You remember, he kept saying it's not me, it's us.
Us, yes.
So we reflected the agenda that the people wanted here in the United States. And of course, me bringing the voice of los Boricuas, the Puerto Ricans. I know there's a lot of Puerto Ricans where you're from. Así es que.
Yes, you've been here to support me.
Yes, and I think it's important to bring that perspective. And you were talking about, somebody was giving a shout out for Medicare for all. And what we're really talking about are decisions that impact all of us. And when we're talking about a woman's right to choose over her own body, it's a financial decision also. Having a child impacts your finances. So we really have to push a progressive agenda, not because we're radical, but because there is no time to waste when it comes to doing the right thing.
That's right, Mayor. And the needs are so great. I mean, they really are. So you serving as mayor of San Juan, Puerto Rico, you served in the House there as well. Right now, you are a Harriet L. Weissman and Paul M. Weissman Distinguished Fellow at Mount Holyoke. Those students just don't know how good they have it to have your presence there at that educational institution. So, Mayor, we've been around the block many times together. The midterms are kind of still going on. We don't exactly know who will control the House of Representatives. Ultimately, we have Senator Warnock fighting really hard to bring it on home in Georgia, although some folks have already declared, oh, we don't need them, but we do. I went off all the way yesterday on that, Mayor, to write him off like that. But for you, what are some of your thoughts about the midterm elections and any advice about moving forward?
Well, I think there's a lot to be learned. One is, if you notice, none of the progressives that were running on what others called radical agenda had any trouble being selected. They just, I'm not gonna say breezed through them, because they worked for that. And they understood that one thing that I stand up for, which is speaking up for the true problems and standing up is important. 2, I think it's also very important to understand that even though there was not a red tsunami. It was stopped by young people, the Gen Z, right? We have Maxwell Frost, the first Gen Z person to go into Congress. But young people went to the polls like no other time. And I have to say, a lot of that has to do with the seeds planted by Senator Bernie Sanders in 2016 and then again in 2020. So the agenda has to be a people-centered agenda, but also a youth-centered agenda. And a youth-centered agenda, it's about more rights, no less rights, more freedom, not less freedom, more for the people, not for the billionaires or the millionaires, more taxes for the rich, not for the working class. So that's a second. And the third thing that I think it's important is I'm afraid Democrats will become complacent. Complacidos. I don't know if that translates in English. That they say, well, this was the best midterm election that a president has had in a very long time. We're just cruising through. No, we're not cruising through. There are some fundamental issues that still require the attention of everyone in the United States. You know, veterans, for example, we just celebrated or talked about Veterans Day, November 11th, and there's a whole bunch of veterans living in the streets. Homelessness is important. I don't care if it's 50,000, 60,000 people, that's important. Access to healthcare, access to education, counseling, not forgiving, because nobody made a mistake or did something wrong when they went to college. Counseling not only $20,000 of student debt, but the entire student debt. If we can give trillions of dollars to people on tax breaks, we can certainly pay for these issues that are the issues that are close to America. Also, strengthening the middle class, which is always done by strengthening the union relations in the United States. So those are things that are really moving. Women came out to vote. So watch out when you try to put a lid on women's rights. Women are going to stop being quiet if we are ever. And those that are quiet are going to stand up and speak up.
If we are ever, we know we are two women who are not. We stand up for justice. Mayor, what are you up to? So I gotta have you back because I was gonna bring up what happened when you went off on Donald J. Trump, but we don't have time for that conversation. We will come back. But you were standing up for the people of Puerto Rico, bringing it in. You did not care that it was President Donald J. Trump. You had some choice words for that brother. You let him have it. So we're gonna come back and talk about that. But what I really want to talk about before we break from one another in this particular moment is what are you up to right now?
Well, a couple of things. I'm finishing here at Mount Holyoke College on December 31st. I've been teaching a workshop called Toolbox for Crisis Management because, there's a few crises that I had to deal with when I was mayor of San Juan, Puerto Rico. You just mentioned one of them. Two is I have a podcast on Aussie network called Sheroics. It's dropping on November 30th, which is the birthday of my daughter's birthday. And Sheroics is about women. You're gonna love this one. It's about women that no one knows about, but we should all know about because they're changing the world one community at a time. So that's gonna be on Aussie Network. And I'm looking forward to talking to all kinds of women there to see how women change the world. And then I'm going back to Puerto Rico in January. And I'm gonna start working there with a non-governmental organization whose mission is to create community engagement, community housing, which is totally green, zero carbon footprint, and which also reduces poverty. So that's some kind of good trouble, as brothers Congressman Lewis would say.
Yeah, I love it, Mayor. Sheroics. We got to check that out. Hopefully people will check that out wherever they get their podcast. And Mayor, you said it starts November
30th.
November 30th, Sheroics. We're gonna check that out. But Mayor, you know how much I adore you. You are my sister girlfriend, and there are not many people in that category. We will definitely catch up offline. I love you so much, and I can't wait to have you back.
Yeah, we gotta finish at the count of 3 saying hello, and you know the rest. So
yes.
1, 2, 3.
Hello, somebody.
Take care. Love you. Happy holidays,
you too,
everybody.
Mayor.